You know what's strange? Some people can walk into a room and instantly feel when something is wrong. A small shift in someone's tone, a strange silence between two people, tension that nobody else seems to notice. And most of the time, they learn that ability very early in life, because people who grew up around conflict often develop a kind of emotional awareness that other people never fully understand. Their brain learns to scan, to observe, to predict reactions before they happen. And without realizing it, they start noticing things other people completely miss. In this video, you'll understand the 10 signs someone grew up around constant emotional tension, and why those experiences often create highly observant, emotionally hyper-aware people. The first thing people who grew up around conflict notice is tension, not obvious tension, subtle tension, a pause that lasts half a second too long, a smile that feels slightly forced, a change in someone's tone that nobody else reacts to, and strangely, their body notices it before their mind does, because when you grow up around emotional instability, your nervous system learns to scan environments automatically, not for curiosity, for safety. The second thing they notice is emotional inconsistency. They immediately sense when someone's behavior doesn't fully match their words. Someone acts kind in public, then completely changes around different people. And over time, they become extremely good at reading emotional contradictions. Not because they're paranoid, because at some point in life, understanding those contradictions mattered. And here's where this becomes even more interesting. Many people who grew up around conflict don't even realize how much they're observing all the time, because for them, hyper-awareness stopped feeling unusual a long time ago. It just became normal. The third thing they notice is changes in energy. They can often feel when a room suddenly becomes uncomfortable, even before anything actually happens. A conversation shifts. Someone enters the room. A certain person becomes quieter, and instantly, their attention sharpens. Because growing up around conflict often teaches people to predict emotional reactions before they arrive. Their brain learns one important rule very early. If you can sense tension early enough, you can prepare for it. And the fourth sign is something many people misunderstand completely. People who grew up around conflict often become extremely calm during stressful situations. Not because stress doesn't affect them, but because chaos feels familiar. While everyone else becomes emotionally overwhelmed, they quietly switch into observation mode. They analyze, adapt, think ahead, and sometimes that calmness is actually years of emotional conditioning disguised as composure. The fifth thing they notice is mood changes that happen too fast. Someone suddenly becomes colder, more irritated, more distant, and even if nobody says anything, they feel it immediately. Have you ever noticed someone's emotional shift before anyone else in the room reacted? People who grew up around conflict usually do, because their brain learned very early that emotional changes often meant something was coming next. The sixth thing they notice is when someone is trying too hard to control a conversation, interrupting constantly, needing attention, shifting blame subtly. Most people only notice the words. They notice the emotional dynamic underneath them. And that's why many people who grew up around conflict become surprisingly good at reading manipulative behavior. The seventh thing is more personal. They often apologize too quickly, even for things that aren't fully their fault. Because when you grow up around emotional tension, keeping the peace can start feeling safer than expressing how you really feel. And honestly, a lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. The eighth thing they notice is emotional exhaustion, not physical tiredness. Emotional tiredness. Certain people drain them almost instantly. Certain environments feel heavy for no obvious reason. And over time, they start becoming extremely selective about who they spend energy around, because their nervous system is constantly processing emotional information in the background. The ninth thing is something many of them struggle to explain. They overthink social situations long after they happen. A small comment, a strange reaction, a subtle look on someone's face. Their mind keeps replaying it, trying to understand what was really happening underneath the surface. And sometimes they've been analyzing people for so long that they don't even know how to stop. And the 10th thing might be the most important one. People who grew up around conflict often become deeply independent emotionally, not because they never wanted support, but because they learned very early that emotional safety wasn't always guaranteed. So they became observant, careful, self-reliant, and without realizing it, they develop a level of emotional awareness most people never fully build. People who grow up around conflict often spend years thinking something is wrong with them, why they notice everything, why certain people drain them so quickly, why they can feel tension other people completely miss. But sometimes, those behaviors aren't weakness at all. They're adaptations, signs that your mind learned to stay alert long before it ever learned to feel safe. So tell me in the comments, what's one thing you've noticed your mind does that most people around you don't seem to notice?